Well, folks, I had a rough night. Anybody that views my Twitter knows I had a rough night. Well, yesterday evening, I broadcast a little bit of I live streamed. Yesterday evening, on my Twitter account, I did a live stream just to let people see some of I'm very childlike. The only time I have the ability to be a mature adult. And it's not the only time I have the ability, but the only time I focus and make myself act a specific way. It's masking is what it is. When I'm making videos, generally speaking, I'm masking. I'm masking much less than I do in public, but much more than I do in private. And I let Twitter see a little bit of my masking last night, or not my masking, but my unmasking last night. Look how freaking fuzzy I am. Okay, so I did a video on anxiety yesterday, on worry, and today I'm adding a little more on anxiety. Proverbs 12:25. Worry weighs a man's heart down, but an encouraging word cheers a person up. Worry weighs a person down. Women, particularly in caregiving roles, have experienced the truth that anxiety weighs down the heart. Speech is not to be turned only to personal success, but a good word is one way to make someone else's life easier. Encouragement in the midst of a trial begins comfort, renewal of strength, creative solutions, and often the motivation necessary to move forward in a positive way. That comes from the Study Bible for Women. Again, that's Proverbs 12:25. Anxiety in a man's heart weighs it down, but a good word cheers it up. So that leads me to speak about the thing we hear the most. Just calm down. Just relax. Okay. A better thing to do is to distract us with something cheerful or happy or funny or not related to our anxiety. Just find a way to divert our attention to something else, something positive, something playful if you have to. I mean, not if you have to, but it's more, everyone focuses so much on, oh, calm down. It's okay. It's going to be okay. We're not going to believe you. It really, truly is beyond our control. So just like Proverbs 12:25 says, worry weighs a man's heart. The worry weighs a man's heart down, but cheerful words, cheerful words. Verse 25. Oh, but a good word cheers it up. I struggled this morning with what I believe to be my two non-consensual medical experimentation and targeted individual are the two labels. I am a victim of non-consensual medical experimentation. I'm almost positive of that, mainly because there are two red flags. One being that I am Rh negative. The other being that I have had major surgery and that I am also a mental health victim. I don't want to call myself a mental health patient because I was misdiagnosed with mental health disorders when what I actually have is a neuropsychiatric disorder. It's a neurological disorder, a developmental disorder. And now I have CPTSD, which is the only mental health diagnosis that I do have. The anxiety, of course, is a part of the neurological disorder. It's not anything I control. There are things that make it worse. There are things that make it better. Mental health treatments don't necessarily assist us very well, especially when they're like anger management, things like that only upset us because it's not anything that's anger related. It's sensory overload related. So when we're anxious, the only thing that has helped me so far ever is my mindfulness exercise that my daughter helped me to use while I was in a grocery store with her. And there was just way too much going on, too many people. I had to sit still for too long. A lot of things. She helped me focus. Her, of all people, at the time she was, I think, like 12. She helped me focus on a freaking keychain, for crying out loud. Mom, the keychain, remember? And then it helped me to focus on her and remember, hey, this is what we're here for. We're here to get her some Italian ice and enjoy ourselves. And there's no reason for us to let anxiety get into the middle of all this. I was being overstimulated. She was able to grab my attention and stimulate me in a different way. So we were successful. But Proverbs 12:25 says, anxiety weighs a man's heart down, and good words cheer it up. So I want you guys to keep that in mind. That's what I found about anxiety. I was also going to do something on rejection. I don't know. As a matter of fact, I think we could probably read all of chapter 12 in Proverbs. I love the Proverbs and the Psalms and the Proverbs. And keep in mind, for those of you that are not believers, when I read Psalms and Proverbs, when I read the Bible in general, I tend to shy away from the concept of God. I tend to view God as my perfect self, my potential to be perfect, goodness, the concept of good, my subconscious that knows all, and if it does not know all, it can learn what it does not know, and there's plenty of resources to access any information that I need. So if we read Proverbs chapter 12, whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but one who hates correction is stupid. Whoever loves discipline, the definition of discipline is to teach. Yes, to teach. Discipline is not to punish. Let's see what Siri says. Siri, what is the definition of discipline?
As a noun, it means the practice of training people to obey rules or a code of behavior, using punishment to correct disobedience. Do you want to hear the next one?
Yes.
As a noun, it means a branch of knowledge, typically one studied in higher education. Do you want to hear the last one?
Yes.
As a verb, it means train someone to obey rules or a code of behavior, using punishment to correct disobedience.
I don't appreciate that they added using punishment to correct disobedience. I don't believe the true definition of discipline includes punishment. Punishment is consequence. It's like negative consequence. Okay, and there's natural negative consequence, and then there's imposed negative consequence or punishment. And that is when we start to expose people to things that traumatize them. When it's not a natural consequence, our mind, our body, ourselves, or whatever is not designed to understand or accept that without some sort of trauma, even if it's the tiniest bit of trauma. Like some people sometimes flinch because they've been hit, or, okay, that's a trauma. That's a form of trauma. Your natural reflex, if someone makes a quick movement, unless it's like directed at you or something, you shouldn't be flinching. But some people do because they've been traumatized by being hit. I liked the second definition, discipline, to have discipline, to be disciplined, to apply yourself, to focus, to learn, to teach. Discipline, the definition of discipline should not include punishment. And I don't believe it should have anything to do with conforming with a certain form of behavior, but discipline should be to teach and to help someone apply themselves to be functional and effective in life, not to conform to a certain behavior. That being said, whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, meaning they love to learn. But one who hates correction is stupid. There's a difference between constructive criticism and someone just picking you apart. When you criticize someone with the intent of helping them to learn or gain knowledge or to better themselves or yourself even, or to change their conduct in a way that's not harmful to other people, that's constructive criticism and correction. To just pick people apart because you don't like what they're doing or you don't appreciate what they're saying, or some of their corrections or criticisms towards you are offensive because they're right, but you don't want them to be, or you don't accept it as being wrong, a wrong thing to do. That is stupid. Verse 2 of chapter 12, the good person obtains favor from the Lord, but he condemns a man who schemes. Man cannot be made secure by wickedness, but the root of righteousness is immovable. A capable wife is her husband's crown, but a wife who causes shame is like rottenness in his bones. We confuse shame. Okay, we don't confuse shame. We associate shame with a lot of things that should not be shameful. Things that are beyond someone's control, like developmental disorders, like birth defects, whether they be physical or mental, challenges, period, in general, that are not in anyone's control, those are things that are not shameful. Those are things that are beyond people's control. They are differences. They are nothing that should be held against anyone or seen as shameful. So when you say a woman who causes shame, they're speaking of a woman who runs around doing things with the intent to stir up shit. A woman who runs around criticizing or gossiping or doing things that aren't necessary and are very hurtful to other people. That is a woman who causes shame. Not someone who's incapable of doing things because she's been traumatized or mentally impaired, or because she's physically impaired, or because she can't do the same things that everyone else does. There has to be a certain level of understanding for our mental and emotional states because of what we expose people to these days. The thoughts of the righteous are just by guidance from the wicked. The thoughts of the righteous are just, but guidance from the wicked leads to deceit. The words of the wicked are a deadly ambush, but the speech of the upright rescues them. The wicked are overthrown and perish. But the house of the righteous will stand. A man is praised for his insight, but a twisted mind is despised. Better to be dishonored, yet have a servant, than to act important, but have no food. And by that they mean better to be dishonored, yet have a servant, someone who serves you, someone who assists you, someone, okay, you can ask for help. You can have someone assist you or serve you. This is my interpretation. Better to be dishonored, yet have a servant, than to act important, but have no food. So to think you're better than everyone, but you can't get up and get help or ask for help. It's like humble thyself, pretty much. A righteous man cares about his animal's health, but even the merciful acts of the wicked are cruel. The man who works his land will have plenty of food, but whoever chases fantasies lacks sense. Some of this I don't agree with. If you can imagine it, if you can think it, if you can apply yourself, you can make it happen. I guess that's all in your interpretation or your idea of what a fantasy is. The wicked desire what evil men have, but the root of the righteous produces fruit. Yeah. When I read the Bible, I'm not even going to continue the chapter. When I read the Bible, I like to be able to read it and think about it and understand it in a way that makes perfectly logical sense and that is actually beneficial in terms of interpretation. And by beneficial, I don't mean picking and choosing what applies to you and what does not. I mean beneficial in a way that will allow you to gain insight, allow you to use it as a means or a tool to better yourself, to better your situation, and to determine your conduct towards others and towards yourself. And so sometimes when I start reading the Bible like that, and I am streaming live, I'm just like, okay, I don't want to read this because it's giving the wrong impression to me. And I don't know what impression anyone listening is getting. And for me to interpret it and explain my interpretation well, I have to study it first. So I'm learning just as much as everyone else is. And I'm going to stop reading that because there were some things that were starting to just be like very discouraging to me. And so I don't want to do that. The whole point was anxiety. Today, anxiety weighs a man's heart down, but positive words lift them up. So I'm going through some difficult stuff this morning. I was being bothered, whether it be by psychological issues or being a targeted individual or medical experimentation is really irrelevant. I survived it. I didn't hurt anyone. I didn't hurt myself. Sometimes understanding and accepting our situations are all that we can do. Trying to understand and accept our situations rather than naysaying or criticizing people or down talking them because we think they're mentally ill or because we think they're just full of crap or because we don't understand what they're going through. I have to do that for myself because I really don't have anyone around but my daughter, and she's very tolerant of everything. She's just like, Mom, I know, you're okay, because I do worry about upsetting her sometimes, and she's like, No, Mom, I know you're all right. I know. It's crazy that someone that's 14 can gain understanding and acceptance for my situation without fully understanding it and still love me and tolerate me and not reject me like grown-ass adults do. It's crazy. I think it's a little bit upsetting to me, but that alone helps me to keep on trucking. And I do love her and appreciate that she's able to do that. I wish she could rub off on other people because really adults do need adult companionship. Otherwise, I think I have a lot of regression. There's a thing called autistic regression. And it tends to happen to me every time I have an upset, like a PTSD sort of related triggering or whatever. When I trigger, CPTSD is actually PTSD. No, I do have PTSD, but I think that's mostly in relation to the death of my infant. CPTSD in relation to emotional and physical abuse, narcissistic abuse, and neglect. Now, please, nobody take that to heart. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not going to elaborate or point out who that was perpetrated by. Keep in mind, I'm 40 years old and I've interacted with a lot of people, the majority of them abusive. So I'm not pointing any fingers at any one person, but yes, that is a part of my CPTSD, rejection, neglect, abandonment, emotional and physical abuse, sexual abuse, definitely. Yeah. So I do tend to experience regression, autistic regression. I will run around here like a toddler because I can't deal with or face or even know how to react to some of the things that get triggered. So it's difficult sometimes. My daughter and she becomes the parent. That's a little, sometimes that's upsetting to me because she does become the parent, but sometimes she does become the parent and I'll just be doing disruptive things, not destructive or harmful, but disruptive behavior. Like sometimes, okay, last night I had a Coke bottle on the floor, smacked it across the room. This morning I threw a pillow at the wall. Disruptive, not destructive, but disruptive behavior. And she'll be like, Mom, Mom, stop. And I'm just like, okay. And I literally regress to the point where I act like a 5-year-old. And that's another reason too why I don't necessarily like to go out, because you never know when you're going to get to that point. And I've gotten to the point where like I converse with myself mainly because I have no one else to really converse with. And that's how it's been for the past like 5 to 8 years. I've had no one necessarily to converse with. I mean, not on a regular basis. So it's become very habitual and very acceptable to me. Even walking down the street, I'll talk to myself. I process things. I have conversations. I ask questions to myself and I answer them and I do it out loud. And I don't think there's anything psychotic or mentally unstable or ill about that. I think that's my mind's way of coping with my isolation, my mind's way of still being functional and practicing what you normally practice on a social basis. I practice with myself because I don't have that social interaction. But that being said, that's also when anxiety takes time from me because I don't have social interaction or people to say, hey, it's going to be okay. So there you have it. That's all for today. 21 minutes. Wow, that's a record. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to do so down below. I got to jump my behind in the shower. I think I've been in the same clothes for 2 or 3 days. That is another lovely, yeah, we just do that. I don't really do anything to get my clothes dirty, so not that that's a valid excuse, but yeah. Us Aspies are well known for neglecting ourselves in people's eyes. They call it neglect, but I think it's just we do what we do because it's what's comfortable for us, and our actual perception and the way we process discomfort or anxiety or pain or sound or light or any number of things is much different than what others experience. And I didn't know that until I was older. Like a lot of things I went through when I was younger that I've mentioned or I've seen or I've read about now or heard people discussing, I'm like, whoa, I thought that was normal. Like I thought everybody went through that. And then now I'm realizing that no, there's very select few of us that go through it and experience it that way. And even then, our experiences are still not the same, but they're much different than what normal kids experience. And I think that's what a lot of people fail to realize. Because neurotypical people, um, it's outside of their box. So it's not anything they can understand. They're like, okay, well, I can tolerate this and I can do this. Why is it so frustrating for you? If you've never experienced anything to the level that we have or to the extent that we have, or if it's not as exact, because it's like living in a megaphone almost. And I'm not just speaking auditorily. I'm speaking in every sense of the word. Like everything is magnified. And what happens to an ant when you put it underneath a magnifying glass? It gets burnt to high heaven. You fry that bitch. Sorry for the choice of words. But yeah, I mean, everything is magnified and it's all concentrated onto one person. And it's just like, ah! Sometimes. We do our best. So just be patient with us and try to be understanding. We're very understanding of you guys and your misunderstanding or your inability to understand. That's what blows me away is we try to be so understanding of you neurotypicals, and sometimes you guys just don't want to get it. We just want to coexist. We just want to coexist. We don't want to be noticed for our inabilities or our disabilities. We just want to coexist, and we want our strengths, our abilities to be focused on. We want to be noticed for those things, not the things that are like awkwardly different or uncomfortably different. We want to be noticed for the things that are exceptional and that we're strong at, just like everybody else. But there are things that most people either aren't interested in or I don't know. I don't know exactly what it is. I guess I can't say I have a full understanding of that either. All right. Questions, comments, leave them down below. Like, share, subscribe. Hit the dingy bell if you want notifications. Just be aware that sometimes they will be quite frequent and they might get annoying. Thanks for watching. Have a lovely day.